concerns about the safety of the Wodent wheel. My name is Lisa, and I'm the owner of Suncoast Sugar Gliders, and I'd like to take you through a little bit of history on the Wodent wheel and my personal experience and opinion about whether this wheel is safe or not. I've used literally hundreds of these wheels over 15 years of breeding sugar gliders, and I have personally never had an incident with a tail injury, although I don't doubt that they've happened. I know that these wheels, the axle used to be exposed, it no longer is, and it could get rusty, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. But I will tell you that the size I recommend is only the senior size Wodent wheel. There are two other sizes it comes in, and with the Wodent wheel, if you want the safest product for sugar gliders, size does matter, you do want the senior wheel. The company, Transonic, that is the manufacturer of this Wodent wheel, has been extremely responsive and I think taken very responsible action to make sure that the wheel is as safe as it possibly can be for all animals that may potentially use it. So he's done some things specifically for the senior size wheel, specifically for use with sugar gliders, and I think you need to know a bit about it. Alright, so here's the senior Wodent wheel. I want to take you through a quick history. The senior Wodent wheel now has what's called a tail shield. So you can see here I'm just holding up an open panel with the shield that protects it from the axle. But originally we just had this stand and this axle was exposed. Also, it wasn't painted. So this axle was prone to rust, and without proper maintenance of that, rust, of course, a fuzzy little tail could get hung up on it, gets hung up on it, it can get injured. And sugar gliders don't recover very well from tail injuries. A lot of times it gets infected, needs to be amputated. There's just something about their tails that don't heal super easily and super well. So he went from having an unpainted axle to a painted axle, and then from there he developed a device that was an idea from members of the sugar glider community to put in what he called a tail guard. And it was essentially a piece of PVC pipe to fit in over the axle itself. But then that was ultimately found to create some pinch hazards. So from there, he retooled his manufacturing process, and he only did this for the senior wheel, that on these, this is the outer cover with the holes, and this is the back cover. They have these inset slots that this little shield fits into. So now that the axle is completely protected, there's no pinch hazard, and I personally think that Eric should be commended for being so proactive to the needs of our community. So let's get back to the issue of the size of the Wodent wheels. A lot of people will buy this wheel thinking their baby sugar glider needs a little wheel. Not true. You can start, I've seen 6, 7-week-old out-of-pouch joeys get in and move a senior size wheel. So you don't need to start with a small wheel and go with a bigger wheel. If you want a much bigger, wider wheel, like the robust wheel, it does not come with the shield. People who have colonies of 3 or more sugar gliders will run in the wheels together. So a lot of people think bigger is better. I'm going to recommend that you put several senior wheels inside of your colony habitat so that the whole gang can go for a spin, so to say. Since 2011, which is when the axle shield was available, there have been no reported injuries that I've heard of that have been confirmed. I've also checked with the owner of the Wodent Wheel Company, and he said he's not heard any reports of injuries either with the shield in the senior wheel. So if you have concerns, just go with the senior wheel. When we sell our Wodent wheels, we always include the shield, although it is considered an accessory to the Wodent wheel. He does charge extra to get this piece, but we just include it at no extra charge automatically whenever you buy a senior wheel. So you don't have to ask us to include that with the wheel. Although if you're buying a Wodent wheel from somebody else, you might want to make sure that they are offering you the shield as well. We can't be too safe, right? Now I want to read just this quick little blurb here. This is actually on the Transonic website. Transonic is the manufacturer. And I'm going to include this website address for you at the end of the video as well as my own. And what it says is the glider shield is intended to keep gliders from getting into trouble by wrapping their tail around the wheel's axle. Most gliders, and all rats, hamsters, and other known critters, will never need a glider shield and has zero need to get one. However, if your glider is of a mind to try to wrap its tail around the axle while running, the shield should prevent a world of hurt. The glider shield includes the seam cover, can only be mounted in wheels that have a new inner ring molded into the front and back panels for this purpose. I showed you that a few minutes ago. Panels with this ring started shipping in the second quarter of 2011. Panels shipped before this will not work with the glider shield. So if you have an older wheel, you might want to consider upgrading to the newer version with the new safety features included. Also just want to mention briefly maintenance of the wheel. There's a small, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it here, but there's a small cotter pin, and that holds the wheel onto the axle. Another thing that this company did that I think is really neat is he has these really interesting washers, and when you install this properly, this washer spins around to cover the pointy part of the cotter pin. Now, of course, these things need to be washed. Sugar gliders will go on the go, and what I mean by that is they will potty in their wheel. So they need to be washed frequently, and taking the cotter pin in and out, I found the easiest way to do that is with a pair of needle nose pliers. You can just slide it right out, and then you can press the wheel back onto the stand. There's a real easy access hole there. Slide it back in. Doing it with the fingers, it's not so easy. So use a pair of needle nose pliers and keep that wheel well maintained. You always want to check to make sure that it's assembled properly, that everything's in the slots that they're intended to be, and you ought to be good to go. Just want to end with a few parting thoughts here. There's a lot of stuff out there on the internet about, oh, the Wodent wheel, it's so terrible, it's so unsafe. That's old news, guys. This guy's taken quite a few steps to make sure that we have a nice, safe, and affordable product to use with our sugar gliders. A lot of stuff on the internet, it never goes away, and I think credit should be given, particularly in a case like this, where the owner of this company has been extremely responsive, creating the shields, re-outfitting his factory to produce outer covers that accommodate slots for those shields, putting on a nice washer on there that covers up the cotter pin. He's pretty much covered every single concern that anybody's ever had about it. So I want to personally say thank you to Eric of the Wodent Wheel Company. The Senior Wodent Wheel is a great value. It's very safe, and most importantly, it's great fun for your sugar gliders.